received a resolution through the AFP's National Conference of Constituency Leaders that is asking us to show more of a focus on diversity and equity. In fact, I think it was a sign from some of our members and stakeholders that they weren't seeing that reflected in the priorities of the initiative. So we'll be working with that in the coming weeks and months to see if we can do a better job of reflecting the importance there. Then what we developed is a framework for change. And I think I actually did share a draft of this framework for change with you all in a PowerPoint deck from one of my last presentations. But here it is again, now embedded into the actual report that we've put together. And our framework for change is just how we're organizing. So based on all of the research that exists and doesn't exist around student choice of medical specialty, and as well as what we know about the time before medical school and what sends people on a pathway to medicine or to something else, if they might be someone who could be an amazing family physician that doesn't even ever pursue a medical career. Based on everything that we know and based on what we don't know, we developed a structure and we developed some priorities. So the backbone there on the left that you see, that orange line, is the work that the AFP is doing to really keep these 8 organizations and potential future partners in sync, focused on a shared aim and leveraging priorities that we think will be most important. The steering committee at the top that's overseeing this work and guiding this work is made up right now of those 9 partner organizations that I mentioned, the 8 family medicine organizations and the National AHEC Network. But I think actually that steering committee structure may change as this program evolves as well. And then along the right-hand side, you'll see evaluation and learning is woven into everything that we're doing. One update I have for you all from last time related to our evaluation and learning is that we have recently hired a consulting organization in higher education to develop an evaluation plan for us. So they're going to be able to help us get organized. We have more concepts and resources on evaluation than we have been able to make sense of. So the good news here is that there's a lot there. It's just a matter of getting it all organized into an evaluation plan. And so they're working over the next 3 months to put together a structure for our evaluation that will include what we're going to be paying attention to in the environment, what's going on around medical education, what influences this problem, this workforce crisis that we're in, that we need to be paying attention to. And then kind of at the meso level, they're going to be helping us put together a plan for what are the systems that we're trying to impact, what change are we trying to make, and how do we know if that change is happening. And then at the micro level, they're going to be helping us with a structure for program evaluation. So how do we know if our interventions are working? And that's, down to the level of, did people like the program we ran? What are the program level feedback that we get? Did people come to our meeting? Did people, report that they liked it or learned something, et cetera? This can be related to our actual initiative. So we'll have that evaluation plan in place by August, and we're really excited about that work. And then in the middle here, you see the 3 focus areas of the actual interventions that we're going to be working on. And what we think are the most important are to have a deeper impact in what we're calling the pipeline space. We could call it the pathway space. What happens before medical school that influences this workforce issue? And so we're going to be doing work there. Then the process of medical education itself, what can we be doing within the process of medical education to have an impact? What systems and structures within medical education are holding this problem in place, and how do we change those? And then we're also working on local collaborative action, really looking at launching an initiative, especially leveraging some of the AFP chapters, state chapters, to work on local interventions that we can then leverage for national learning as well. So moving through our action plan, then we have a theory of action that takes us through the timing, and I apologize, my computer's being a little bit slow on my scroll here. But I can describe to you our theory of action a little bit as it catches up with me. Here we go. Our theory of action moves us through time then. So we have our pillars, if you will, of where we're going to focus our work, and our theory of action takes us through time. So in the pipeline space, what is it that we think we need to do first? And that's establish a national program. I'm going to talk with you a little bit more about that in just a minute. And then where do we want that to go? well, where we want to be in 10 years is that we will have embedded family medicine along the pathway to medicine for students at these really key points, and not only with the students, but with the people who are influencing, and again, those systems and structures that have that influence over students. With the process of medical education, that we're going to start off by leveraging current evidence, and we're going to build a learning and action network. And then by the year 2030, that we're going to really be scaling these successful interventions that we will have uncovered and that we will have learned more about through that learning and action network. And then local collaborative action with our chapters. We're going to start off working with just a few chapters, and again, hopefully have interventions that we can stretch and scale nationally. So what I want to do now is give you, and then this whole section, which I'll share with you all, as soon as I have a nice, pretty branded report, it talks about what each of the organizations are and how the partner organizations and how they support this work and what we can leverage from them. Our evaluation plan overview is in here. And then here are our active projects and timelines. So the first one in the pipeline space, we've entered a national partnership with HOSA Future Health Professionals, which is an organization that focuses on health professions career development for high school students. And I'm actually going to stop sharing this document so I can share with you a page on our website that I think I did share last time as well, but it really reflects the work that we're doing. So with HOSA, and Stacy has been involved in this work. After our last meeting, she said, let me know if I can help, and I took her up on that. So she's actually been on our advisory group for our national partnership with HOSA. And so what we are doing with them is we have developed a family medicine career test that now any student participating in HOSA across the country has the opportunity to participate in a line of events that will teach them more about family medicine, give them an opportunity to really engage with family medicine. It starts out with this test, which you would think, why are students signing up to take extra tests? But then you all know these really ambitious students, and they're always looking for opportunities to develop their skills and build their resumes and applications and CVs. So these are high school students who are interested in health professions and want to learn more and want to get a chance to develop skills and show those skills. So they can take a family medicine test, and the test is over a set of resources that we provided to them, including a couple webinars and then facts and charts and information about primary care and about family medicine. So we are at a place where we have a final draft of that test, and it's actually in the field. Students can already study for it, and then they'll be taking the test in June. It is June, later this month. And then we're also working on a competitive event that will launch in June for students to participate in the 2021 to 22 academic year. That competitive event will involve actually connecting directly with not only a family physician or multiple family physicians in their own communities, but also with medical students and potentially residents in their own communities. So they can be not only seeing what family medicine is and the impact family physicians have on health in their communities, but they can also be connected with students who are a few stages ahead of them in the process of medical education so that they can get that advice and guidance and hopefully inspiration. So this is where we're doing most of our work right now. This is where we have most of the moving parts. HOSA has a national meeting coming up at the end of the month where all of this will launch. We are doing educational programming at that meeting. We're involved in the background of that meeting. We're on one of HOSA's, actually the HOSA's National Leadership Committee, which is called the HOSA 100. Getting to work with organizations across the country and actually across the world that are trying to impact the health professions workforces. So it's been a really great network to get involved in, and a really great organization for this national partnership. And we're hoping that what we build in this national partnership, we can also extend other places. I should also say that one of the other things that we're looking at developing is a set of tools and resources, and potentially also a network of support for our members who get involved as these role models for students, so that when they engage with a HOSA student, that we are also supporting them to really share that. We know that students, if they're going to choose primary care, they need a positive vision for the future of primary care. So how can we help our influencers, our role models, be able to share that positive vision, that shared, and create a shared vision for a positive future for primary care with these students. So we're working on that as well. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you all related to what's upcoming is that we are hoping for the Student Choice Learning and Action Network, which is that initiative that's going to focus on the process of medical education. That will be a program that medical schools can join by probably by like naming a fellow from their institution, so a faculty member from their institution that will be our direct link to that institution. And then they'll be able to participate, leverage the shared knowledge of the community, and test interventions that they want to test and that we want to learn from as well. We're hoping to be on a timeline to launch that within this academic year. We are hoping with the progression of efforts to fight COVID-19 that we can actually convene in person a leadership team for that and to really make some final decisions about program structure and get it started. It's 80% of the way there in terms of the background work that's been done on that initiative, and we just need to make a few final decisions and put together that final structure and get it going. So we're hoping to be able to do that within this academic year. Those are the big updates I have for you. And I shared the evaluation update that we're working on a plan over the next 3 months with the consultant. So a lot of moving parts with this work, and I think things will start moving even faster. We'll have more working groups stood up, more opportunities for our members and stakeholders to get involved, more opportunities to bring in new partner organizations and really get involved in even more spaces. So we're really at a really critical juncture with this work, and I'm excited about where it's going, and there's a lot too. So we're trying to keep up with it in some senses, and so it's moving fast. But I know that was my time today, and my time is up. I'm happy to take any questions if there's time within our footprint, or I'm here for the meeting and happy to talk more. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. And actually, I think there's some more time. So I would open the floor to questions for Ashley. She really is at the hub of these national efforts. So it's a good time to engage with her and ask any questions you might have about the small list of things she brought up or all the other things she's involved with.
I was going to ask Ashley a question of, is your local collaborative action, is that going to include things like some of the financial aspects of practice, like minimum spend that I know AAFP has been looking at to try to have more healthcare dollars support primary care and specifically family practice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think some of that is will be determined by those local areas. One of the things we've talked about a lot in terms of that step of defining our scope. So when we came together in 2018 and said we have a shared goal, we have a shared aim of 25 by 2030, the next big step in our debate was, well, if we think all of these things impact the primary care workforce, so not only the pipeline and the process of medical education, but the business of medicine, payment, practice transformation, how care is delivered to we know that all of those things impact the workforce. What is it that we're trying to do? What are we trying to focus on? And in our conversations as these national organizations over time, the determination we came to is that we are already doing everything we think we can in terms of impacting, reducing administrative burden, practice advancement, practice transformation, primary care spend, physician payment, all of those issues. And so we really felt like we couldn't, as a collaborative, and we're also working on that in a shared way with these national family medicine organizations and other important stakeholders. And we didn't feel like there was anything that we could add as our collaborative. So we chose to focus our scope on the process of medical education and the pipeline. So that is one element of it that we do have to, we have to remind ourselves about that sometimes when we get into these conversations about care delivery and other things, but it's all embedded. And then in terms of the local collaborative action, I think I shared with this group a few meetings ago, we've been being approached by more partners in the healthcare payer space. So insurance companies that are interested in doing more around workforce development, especially workforce diversity. And we've actually been promised a $1.5 million grant by a payer, a national payer, to work in the pipeline space. They want to get involved. They want to have scholarships. They want to connect with students. They want to connect in communities. And that includes an element. The proposal that we wrote to them for that grant includes an element of deep dives within our states. So we'll start in actually 1 or 2 markets with them when we get that project going. And what we'll do is we'll work on pulling together all of those stakeholders, a really important group of stakeholders in whichever states are prioritized, to have that conversation about, and then to create a shared vision and a shared aim with those multi-sector organizations, and then see, okay, we all care about this issue, what can we do together? And I think there's a lot of great examples. I think in Ohio, there are great examples. There are other places where there are already those local collaborative action networks that are happening that we can learn from and leverage, and maybe even be able to help extend their work. But we're not quite there yet. That grant was delayed a little bit, and then we have other partners that are interested in that work, and so I just think we're not quite there yet on what exactly the local collaborative action will look like. But we know it's important, and we know it's a priority, and so it's built into our structure. Does that help? And do you have any feedback hearing that answer? Do you have any feedback for us?
No, I think, what I always like to see is that we're looking at the whole spectrum of what's needed, so that we don't get a bunch of students excited and get medical school finally into a supportive environment, only to have people get into practice situations that either aren't attractive or aren't sustainable for them. So I know you can't do it all, Ashley. I just want to be sure someone's focused on the breadth of what needs to change, so we don't fix part of it without fixing the entire spectrum that we need to be looking at. So thank you. Then on your upstream comment, the only other thing I'll highlight will be, a lot of times looking at high school and college, but it's also important, well, like with your immediate past president, Gary Leroy, he was a laboratory technician and then was encouraged to go beyond that career, because he was already in his career path and it was a health career, but he wasn't in a medical career, and was encouraged by others who saw a spark of capacity in him that wasn't being used. And, he was able to then move into family practice as a career choice. And of course, moved all the way up to the top position in AFP. But if someone hadn't encouraged him and mentored him at a time in his health career he was in to shoot higher and farther and bigger in his perspective, then he'd still be a lab technician today. So we don't want to miss those opportunities also, to look at people who are doing quite well, they're quite happy, they're quite fulfilled in what they're doing, but maybe they could be doing more with their career and have that potential that we should be looking for. So it's up to all of us to find those people out there and help them to be redirected sometimes in their focus towards what they're really capable of.
Yeah, I think that's a great story. And when I think about our pipeline work, our goal of having primary care and the vision for primary care embedded all along is really so that all of those people who can be those influencers are able and are as equipped as possible to be those influencers.
The last comment I'll make on pipeline, and I'll quit, will be, we're all taking care of patients in our practice every day. That's the pipeline we should really be tapping, because who do you know better than those kids who come into your practice that are in grade school and high school, and you see them all the time, but we focus on maybe their medical well-being, their physical health. Having a conversation about career goals with them and helping those who have the capacity and capability to move forward, I think makes perfect sense. And I think we're going to hear later on about what Metro Health is doing, helping kids to be exposed to career options and opportunities that include primary care. But I think in front of us every day, we have the pluripotential cells we should be looking at, saying, could they become, with some encouragement, our next group of providers that we're trying to look for, instead of thinking it's out of our realm of possibility or our hands can't touch this. We can touch them every day in our examination rooms. And I don't know of a better time to influence kids than when you've got them there in your office and you've got their undivided attention with you. And I hate to miss that opportunity.
Any other questions for Ashley?
I realized, Stacy, real quick, one more thing I should have mentioned is that there has also been, people may have noticed in the, I think it's this last month's edition of the journal Family Medicine, an article and I think also a commentary on our goal of 25 by 2030 and kind of continuing a conversation among the family medicine community of what are we working toward here and what's really possible. We are planning to also continue that conversation, and I think the steering committee for the America Needs More Family Doctors initiative is going to contribute a commentary as well. What we're really hoping, the article is actually very factual, but what we're hoping is that while it can contribute to the conversation of what's possible in terms of what does the data tell us, we don't want it to diminish the goal. The 25 by 2030 goal is a very aspirational goal, and it's really meant to just create a momentum. And so we don't want to see that momentum diminished. And I think, Ted, your comment too about this is a really big systems problem and contributed to by a lot of different things. And sometimes when we start to think about what all it would take to change, we just get overwhelmed and we can't do anything. And so that the part of the being deliberate to narrow our scope is just to make sure that we are actually doing something and that we can move that needle forward. And we need to move all of them, but the fact that something over here needs to change shouldn't stop us from working on changing what needs to change at this stage as well. So we really just want to keep all of those things moving. So if you haven't seen those articles, I can share links. And I know one more is coming out because the author has been asking me some questions, and then we're going to be working on something as well.
One other thought, Ashley, I had that I don't know if you guys have looked at, but the ABFM gives CME credit for working with medical students, and I don't know if there's anything similar to earlier on in the pathway. So, for example, if physicians got involved in the HOSA mentoring or other programs like that, if the ABFM could recognize that work in some way.